Right above the user prefs, there's a message that says the layer manager must include the layer hidden from player. That means if you click on the layer manager drop-down list at the top of the inspector, you should see a layer called hidden from player. If you don't have one, you'll need to add it. Under the user prefs, we have a hover me option. If you hover your cursor over the words hover me, you'll see some useful information, so be sure to check that out. The checkbox doesn't actually do anything, so it doesn't matter if it's checked or not. The next option is can be picked up. If this option is checked, then the player will be able to pick up the hidden object detector. If it's unchecked, the player will not be able to pick it up. No pickup text is custom text that will appear on the screen if the player tries to pick up the detector while the can be picked up option is not checked. The next section is the interaction section. Interaction type determines what your cursor looks like while hovering over the detector. In order for your cursor to change though, you'll need to have a cursor manager in your scene. If you don't have a cursor manager in your scene, then your cursor won't change. You can find the cursor manager in the manager folder. Interaction max distance determines how close you have to be to the detector in order to interact with it. If you're beyond this distance, you won't be able to pick up the detector. Show interaction distance just gives you a visual representation of the interaction distance in the scene view only. When you play the game, you actually won't be able to see it. Out of range text is custom text that will appear on screen if you try to interact with the hidden object detector while beyond the interaction max distance. So if you're too far away from the hidden object detector and you try to pick it up, that text will appear on screen. The detector has two events. Picked up happens anytime the detector is picked up. Return device happens anytime the detector is returned back to where you picked it up from. Let me show you quickly how to use it. I'm going to drop a sphere into my scene and change its layer to hidden from player. This will make the sphere invisible to my character. I'm going to shrink the sphere to represent some kind of explosive device. Now I'll duplicate the sphere several times and position them around a small area in my scene to represent a dangerous area. During gameplay, we won't be able to see these, and so we might find it very difficult to walk through the area without dying. So I'll just take these and just kind of space them out a little bit, just as an example. Now that I have all the spheres in place, I'll drop a hidden object detector in my scene. I'll make sure the option can be picked up is checked. Now let's run the game and see what happens. We can't see any of the spheres, or rather explosive devices, but if we run through the area, there's a good chance we won't be able to make it through in one piece. However, when we pick up the hidden object detector, we can now safely navigate through the area without getting ourselves blown to pieces. When we're done using the hidden object detector, all we have to do is click the button at the bottom of the screen that says return device, and it will return our hidden object detector back to where we picked it up from. So if we ever wanted to use it again, we can just go back to where it was and pick it back up again.